Hello! So today we're looking at Kevin Can F Himself, Season 2, Episode 3, set in Worcester, Massachusetts, but not filmed in Worcester, Massachusetts. And we just come to accept that. So the first reference that we get in the show is that Patty is wearing an Eat, Sleep, Worcester, Repeat t-shirt that she's worn before. And in this scene she's talking to her brother Neil, and I will comment again that out of all of the actors in the show, I am most impressed with Neil for showing all sorts of subtlety and layers when he's in the real mode and still doing the goofy sitcom-y things in the not real mode. So out of all of them, I think he pulls that dichotomy off very well and really sells the character, makes the character feel real and authentic. Patty's all right, but she doesn't have the same level of technique that Neil does there. So that's what Patty's shirt is. And then Kevin has a shirt that says Mass Hysteria, and it's a shirt featuring the four major sports teams, Patriots, Bruins, the Celtics, and the Boston Red Sox. And this is a real shirt that you could buy. So if you're a fan of the show and want to wear this shirt, you can get one. Just Google it on Google, and you'll be able to get a copy of your very own. So those two things, I think, are both things that you could buy. I don't know that I've ever seen anyone around Worcester wearing them, but they are minor references to this region of the country. Next up, we have Patty and Allison walking down the street, and it's supposed to be in Worcester, but this is actually in Randolph, and there's a passport parking image behind them, but that's not actually how I found it. I found it based on the funeral home. So here's the street that they're walking on, which is Main Street in Randolph. They're turning the corner, and that's the library behind them, which is a beautiful building. And I tried looking for the library. I tried looking for the passport zone number, but you can't get those anywhere apparently that I could find. But it was this building that I found because it is so distinctive and pretty. So there's an image of the library, which is behind them when they were talking. So all of this is on one single street, which is pretty rare for this show. The show often cobbles together, one location on the outside and another location on the inside, or one location when they turn the corner. But all of these things are located right together, so you could go out there for an afternoon and walk on those streets and see all of these different buildings. The funeral home that they're looking at is actually the Gardner J. Kingman House, and this is beautiful, beautiful house. All sorts of ornate ironwork and stained glass, and it was for a couple of years a funeral home, but it's been sold again, and I'm not sure what the new owners are going to do with it. I suppose they could be doing a funeral home again as well, but maybe they'll turn it into a private residence. But another thing well worth going out and taking a look at if you go out to this area. Alex Bonifer is the actor who is playing Neil, and I am so surprised he's not in more movies because I think he is doing a stellar job of showing all the different emotions and challenges this character is facing. So then we're back when Allison was about 20. Her father, who is a police officer, just died, and her mother is clearly a very unsupportive person who was unsupportive to the father and is now being unsupportive to Allison. Allison sort of gives up on life because of the harassment of her mother. She goes off to a bar that her father used to like to hang out at, and this is where she happens to run into Patty and into the rest of the group. I tried to figure out where this bar was, but it is too generic. I looked for all sorts of different kinds of clues, but I will have to keep hunting to try to figure out where this is. And, it could be a restaurant that's not actually a bar in the real world. Now there is a sign in the background there that you see a couple times saying the Periwinkle, and I will zoom in on that. But I looked around for the Periwinkle and I can't find that, so I think that's just a decorative sign in the background. And if anyone knows where this location actually is, let me know, please. So then, for some reason, Allison decides she's going to go look at gravestones because somehow she'll figure out which of these graves belong to abandoned people versus which are just people actually buried in the area because they happen to live in or near Randolph. And that cemetery that they're in looks very much like the Central Cemetery, which is in Randolph, which is a very large, sprawling cemetery. So it makes sense that somewhere in there is the nook that they were working on. And you do see a particular gravestone in the show, but it looks super shiny and fresh, and I have a feeling that they put that in just for atmosphere as part of the show planning. So all of those scenes that we were talking about were happening in this Randolph area, which is about an hour to the east of Worcester. And you can see it says Central Cemetery. There is the thing I happened to click on, but all of the locations, the funeral home and so on, seem to be located in that Randolph area. And here we have Allison cringing and not wanting to go in and deal with her husband. And this is finally starting to feel authentic for me with the way that she is expressing herself and feeling about the situation that she's in. And Kevin decides to kick the door in because he thinks there's zombies out there, and he seriously hurts her. And they are all reacting to that pain. But then we go back to the bright Kevin scene with Kevin being a jerk, and I just don't like these Kevin scenes at all. I do not think they belong in the show, and they just frustrate me. And then we have Allison and Patty together, and they are finally starting to feel more real to me. They are still not as good as Neil is in terms of showing authentic emotion, but we are making some progress here. For a show on such an important, critical topic, I wish it hadn't taken 11 episodes out of 16 episodes to get to the point where I am feeling compassion for Neil especially, but some for Patty and for Allison. And I guess we will see where the show goes in the next couple of episodes before it ends.